As I think a lot of us know in this room, sometimes white people can be a little problematic, but they can also be really great allies. So today we're going to chat with Leslie Mack of Safety Pinbox and Henry Picavet of TechCrunch. Let's talk about allies.
This is us, huh?
Hey, what's up, Leslie? Thank you.
Hey, y'all.
Hi, everybody. I used to have a first question. Now that question is number 2. Because I want to ask Leslie a question about a word. Leslie, how do you feel about the word diversity?
I hate the word diversity.
Why? We're at a diversity and inclusion conference.
We are, I know, right? Well, I thought it was a justice conference.
Criminal justice, yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Anyways, no, I don't like the word diversity for a few reasons. One is because, most of the time when I talk, I'm talking about systemic issues, right? And so personnel changes never affect systemic issues. And so when we talk about diversity in the concept, especially in workplaces, we're talking about numbers games, right? We're talking about personnel movements. And that never actually addresses systemic issues. And it can seem like a solution when it really isn't. The things I like to talk about are 3 things: resources, access, power. That's what we should be talking about.
Okay, now for my new question, number 2.
Okay, here we go.
In December, you wrote something on Facebook, and it goes like this. White folks, when racism happens in public, your silence is violence. Facebook banned you for that.
They did.
We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
First, talk to me about what that statement means.
For me, it was a reaction to something that happened in New York City, actually. And a lot of times, we see, my husband talks about like poofs of racism that happen in front of us in public, and how most of the things I usually look at are the bystanders. There's so much passivity. Nobody wants to step up, nobody wants to say anything, and so there becomes a tacit approval in the room for bad behavior. And so that was what led me to even putting that, just saying, hey, listen, when you don't say anything, that's a problem. You need to speak up. And so that was the impetus for me writing that in the first place. I thought it was actually a very non-controversial comment. In my mind, I thought it was pretty common sense. But the next day I logged into Facebook and I had been banned for a day.
For a day?
Yeah, for 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Facebook now. They had 24 hours. They apologized.
They did.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But what happens when people are banned, right? We have African Americans around, social activists. You're an activist. You're a writer. You're a designer. You're a podcast host. You're all of the things. And queer people are banned for saying things on this platform and any tech platform that has venture capital support. What message does it send to the people who use this platform to save their lives sometimes, to reach out from the Midwest, to connect with somebody on the West Coast internationally who might feel what they feel? What message does it send to people from marginalized groups when they're banned?
Well, the erasure and the silencing is where it gets to be really disturbing and dangerous as well, right? Because what we see continually, especially, all of my Black activist friends, we have like secret second accounts on Facebook because eventually we know we're going to get banned again for talking about the things that are important to us and the ways that we feel ostracized and oppressed in society. And the thing about it is that it's a very weaponized platform in that manner, right? I didn't get banned because an algorithm thought my post was bad or I violated a term that was very generic. No, I was banned because people reported my post, right? People were offended by my use of the word white, which is very common. The thing that I see people get banned, Black people get banned for the most, is just using the word white. And so that's why I was banned, because people had, kind of attacked my post. They had reported it as inappropriate, and once it got X number of reports, it gets pulled, and then I got banned for it. And so the question becomes, in that moment, I'm aggrieved and I'm wronged, and I don't even have a way to tell people about it, right? So my silence is gone. It looks like I'm still there. My account is still there, and so to the outside world, it seems like Leslie Mack's fine, but I can't even say what's wrong. And so that's where it gets to be very dangerous to me.
Okay, after our devastating election in November, you co-founded a company with Marissa Johnson called Safety Pinbox.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what Safety Pinbox does?
Yeah, so Safety Pinbox is a monthly subscription service for white people looking to be better allies in the fight for Black liberation. And so every month, we send you some very concrete things that you can do to better yourself, to educate yourself, and to take action in your everyday life to be of less harm to marginalized people. And so yeah, we actually, I mean, we use the phrasing safety pin because, as y'all know, after the election, there was this whole safety pin fever, you know. People wearing safety pins, somehow that was supposed to make people feel safer. I didn't really quite understand how that was going to occur. And so Marissa and I were talking, we were actually on vacation the week after the election, and she said, you know what they should do? Because we had seen, like, on, somebody mentioned Etsy earlier today, we had seen on Etsy, like, $300, you know, like, diamond-studded safety pins, and, like, Cosmo put out an article that was like, 13 stylish ways to wear your safety pin. And I was, you know, we were just sitting there thinking, you know, this is nothing that's going to actually benefit marginalized people in any way. And so what could we do to kind of change this narrative? And that was kind of how the idea of Safety Pinbox was born. It was this notion of we're experts on race and racism. We can tell you what the needs actually are. Frequently, white people will say to me, what do you want us to do? Right? That's a question I hear a lot. And so Safety Pinbox was kind of an answer to that question. You know, you say you want to do something, pony up, and let's get to work.
Okay, so yeah, what you just said, what people come to you and say, what do you want us to do? All right, so Safety Pinbox, its main purpose is to empower Black women.
Correct. Not empower Black women, excuse me, fund Black women.
Fund.
That's right.
So how does it feel then to be sending out these subscription boxes with things to do?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that content once it leaves your hands?
I don't have much attachment to it once it leaves us. I mean, the content itself is really great. Marissa's an amazing content creator, and the tasks are really significant. They will make changes in your lives, and they will make you a much more effective ally. However, you know, if I had to hitch my star to what white people do, it's not going to be a good outcome for me. And so for me, you know, our goals are really about moving resources from white people to Black women to ensure that Black women have the capital that they need and the resources they need to do good work in the world. And so that's where we really put our focus. So if your credit card clears, let's move. We're good.
Are you able to talk about how much money you've given to Black women so far?
Yes, I can talk in some general numbers. We've given away just about $70,000 since January.
Whoa.
So it's been going well. It's been going well. And it's been really exciting for us. You know, we base the basis of our program is very fundamentally under one thing, which is that Black women don't have to prove shit to me or Marissa. So we don't have any, you know, long forms for them to fill out or things that they need to tell us that they're doing. I don't actually care what they do with the money. I know if we fund Black women, we fund the revolution. If we fund Black women, we fund our communities. We fund Black women, we fund society in a fundamental way. And so for us, that's really where we like to put our efforts.
Let's talk about being a little bit more about being an ally and this idea of allyship. It feels like it's a $65,000 word. It feels like but it feels empty, right?
Yep.
And I think people really do believe that they're allies. But it's been going on for years, this word. So what do you think makes a bad ally?
So a bad ally is one that calls themselves an ally, because it's not a title you can bestow on yourself, right? Those that you support are those that get to say that you have done work that you seem to be in allyship with. So it's not something you can call yourself. So that's the first thing I would say, that would be a bad ally move. But really, the biggest thing about being an ally is that it's never going to be a situation where you're, as an ally, talking about what those people are doing or what they over there need to do. True allies always talk in me, I, and we sentences. So when they talk about the changes they need to make in their lives, it's about the changes they need to make. And so that's what real allyship really comes back to. It's not a question of having the right buzzwords. You know, Marissa says all the time, I don't really care if you know what intersectionality looks like, but I care if you see that it's not happening, that you say something. And so for me, that's really what we're always trying to come back to, is what are you doing? How are you affecting your family, your school, your church, your company, your community? You, what are you doing?
Would you tell that story about that woman? Message you, please.
So we have a closed Facebook group for our subscribers. One of the things we've noticed is that our subscribers really like to have access to us. So we've had to build some boundaries in that regard. And so she had put a question through, a very simple question, through our Facebook Messenger. And I happened to be online, so I just responded. Normally it's not me, but that day she got me. And she said back, very quickly, "Is this Leslie?" And I said, "Yes, it is. Hey." And so then 2 minutes later, I see another message pop up, and I look, and I scroll, and I scroll, and I keep scrolling. I mean, she wrote like a long, long, long list of things. I didn't read it. I was just sitting there like, that's a shame. So 15 minutes later, message pops up again, and she says, "Leslie, I just wanted to apologize. That was a really inappropriate interjection of your time, and it wasn't something that I was entitled to, and I apologize for sending that long message." So, it just goes to show you people can learn, right? They can learn better behavior and better interactions with people, but we're not perfect, so you gotta kind of keep working through those things.
You've been an activist for a long time, and you started this business in November.
Correct.
That's just right. So, between November and today, as a businesswoman and as an activist, talk to me about what's happened for you, for Safety Within Blocks, for Marissa, since you started this, because something must have changed.
Lots of things have changed. I mean, one, resources change everything. And so having capital, having money to do the things that we want to do and to finance the work that we really feel is important. Last week, the incident happened in Portland, and Marissa called me and she's like, "Can we just send, a couple $1,000s to the two girls?" And I said, absolutely. Those are the things that have changed in our lives where we really are able to do the things that we want to and to make our way in the world differently. At the same time, there's this really strange thing that happened once we became business owners. I mean, one of the things is that when we first started, we got a lot of hate coverage, right, when we first launched, mostly from, some left-wing type of stuff. And, was this notion of, we're capitalizing off of, our social justice work and things like that. And this question of, why are you not just a not-for-profit? Why don't you, if your goal is to give money away to Black women, why don't you just become a not-for-profit? And we were like, no, we want to be a business. We want to decide the things we want to do. We don't want to adhere to other people's ideas of what it looks like to do giving, because we give directly to Black women. We don't require them to tell us anything about, if you're a Black woman, you're doing liberation work, you fill out 4 questions, and we just pull numbers off of a list every week. We just pull at random. So for us, it was really about changing the dynamic of that and saying we can do things very differently. But another strange thing happened, which was we gained rights as business owners we never had as Black women. And it was really bizarre to see that happen. Somebody had attacked us prior to launching. And after we launched, they attacked our business. And our lawyer was like, no, now we can go after them now. So we had watched ourselves come into a place, because we were now business owners and entrepreneurs, that we had rights we never had as just regular Black women citizens. People could attack us personally all day long, but the minute they mentioned our business, it became a whole different story.
Well, that is powerful. And it gives you leverage.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Because when we talk about trying to mobilize white people in this, this is an understatement. This is a new climate we're in, right? So that reminds me of something that you had said to me last week when we were talking. You think about this notion that people are anti-racist, but not pro-POC.
This is true.
Yeah, elaborate.
So this notion, I have this great analogy I do. One, I tell a really great joke all the time. I say two white allies walk into a bar because it was set so low, right? Yeah. So, and then I give this great analogy about a little boy named Jimmy, right? So Jimmy is 5, and I've told him, and his mother has told him about how dangerous the street is and how you shouldn't play in traffic, and cars can hit you, it can be really bad, you can get hurt. And Jimmy looks at me and he nods and he says, got it, traffic, cars, don't run in the street. But if I take a ball and I throw it in the street, Jimmy's gonna go running after it, right? Because he understands the concept of of danger in the street, but in reality he doesn't. And that's how white people are with race. So conceptually they're like, yes, I'm anti-racism, I think racism is bad, but when it comes to being pro-POC, which is rooting out anti-blackness, right, in themselves and really digging into what whiteness is and how we dissect what that has come to be in our society, that's not work that they're really willing to do. And so Safety Pin Box helps with a lot of that. You know, we move people from education to action because there's a big gulf in between that. Right. And what a lot of white anti-racist circles become is education for education's sake. And I'll say, great, you're educated, now what are you going to do? And they say, well, I'm going to educate more white people. I go, okay, is there a point where you've educated enough and then we're going to do some stuff, or nah? So that's really what we're really talking about, is the action piece and making that bridge.
And them becoming aware of the fact that they do have these white supremacist tendencies that they have here so far been unwilling to admit.
Not just unwilling, unable. Here's the thing, you know, white supremacy is insidious. One of the most insidious pieces of it is that it's meant to be obscured by those who benefit from it most. So white people are, it completely is set up so that white people don't see it. That's actually its goal, it's its little trick. So it hides it from those that benefit and makes it very clear to those of us that don't. And that's where we really need to get white people to open up their minds a little bit differently. Not just see, you know, from somebody else's eyes, because that actually doesn't do very much. They need to see through their own eyes, but look differently at what's happening around them and how those things affect things. My mother-in-law, my husband's wife, my mother-in-law called me the other day and she said, you know, I just realized that when Drew, is my husband's name, got that management job in high school, I think that was white privilege. I say, yeah, Mom, it was. You're right, it was. It definitely was, yeah.
I'm being told that we have some questions. One question from the audience.
We have some audience questions for you, Leslie.
All right.
The first is, by providing white allies actionable to-do lists, what is the risk of limiting allyship to transactional checklists versus more inclusive mind shifts?
So here's the thing. Our tasks aren't checklists at all. There isn't a checklist to go through and get rid of racism. So I'll give a good example. So we have a power mapping task we have our subscribers do. And at the end of it, they've spent some time kind of mapping power in their lives, where they hold power, how it comes in and out of their lives and in and out of their communities. And at the end of the month, they have to pick 3 ways that they're going to shift power from themselves or where it is to marginalized people. So these tasks are not about you having a checklist, and it's not transactional in that particular way. But it is really about making specific shifts in your life to be less harmful and to be more mindful of the things you do. Our subscribers started doing some cool things. They made like a list of black women to hire to do like all sorts of stuff. So they have this like ongoing list. So when they need a graphic designer, they have a list of black women to hire. You know, so those are the ways that we're trying to interject ourselves. It's not about a checklist, but it is about deciding all the choices that we make in the world, how we're going to do that in a more functional way and less harmful way to marginalized people.
Nice. So that was it? All right. All right, well, this was a great conversation.
Thank you.
We have a lot of work to do.
We do.
It sounds like.
We do have a lot of work.
We've been having a lot of work to do.
Yes, we've been having a lot of work to do. We've been having a lot of time spent discussing things that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Somebody asked me the other day, like, oh, is it really important to go protest a racist, you know, gathering? And I said, I don't know if it is or isn't, but if you're not asking yourself every time, how does this benefit marginalized people in my community before you do everything, that's where we need people to get to.
Perfect.
All right.
All right, with that, we're going to, just in time.
Just in time, we did it. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.